The story begins with a girl approaching her friend Xiao and asking for help with young Master Huan. The girl puts her hands on Xiao and reminds her that she has hope for her friend. The girl takes out a round tablet and gives it to her friend. Clutching the pill in her hand, Xiao reassures her sister Xian not to worry. Xiao takes a glass of champagne and throws a pill into it. The tablet slowly begins to dissolve into the contents. Taking a glass from the tray, the girl heads towards the two men. In his thoughts, Xiao notices Xian Wang's naivety. She thanks the girl for the pill, but plans to use it elsewhere. With a grin, Xiao adds that the girl completely underestimates her. Xiao planned to tell herself in the future what the young master was like. One of the men greets Xiao as she walks. All the men nearby notice this as well. The girl with a smile asks Mr. Huang to drink a drink, because he is probably tired after training. Xiao hands the glass to the man and with a smile asks him to drink it again. Huang turns his attention to the glass and stares for a few seconds. Without any emotion or suspicion, Huang takes the glass and thanks the girl for her concern. After a short time, Huang heads towards the elevator. He felt bad, holding onto the wall. Huang could not understand what was happening to him. Looking towards the end of the corridor, he notices sparkles and colorful colors. People seemed many times more cheerful than they actually were. The man is breathing heavily, holding his chest. Huang suggests that he was drugged. The man believes that he urgently needs to find help, after which Huang turns to a passing man. The man continued to walk on without paying any attention to Huang. Not wanting to wait, Huang takes him by the hand and demands that the man follow him. Not expecting submission from the man, Huang pushes him into the room, repeating that he needs his help. At the moment, Huang drinks the glass of champagne to the end, unaware of the consequences. In her thoughts, Xiao Zaya apologized to the guy, adding with a grin that she was very sorry. Laughing, the girl covers her face with her hand, adding that Xia Zhong Huang will be hers. Huang pushed the man onto the sofa and sat on top. The man indignantly tries to understand what Huang is doing to him. Huang, still holding the man's hands, lowers his head. Huang asks the man to help him contact his friends, because otherwise irreparable things could happen. The man screamed and abruptly pushed Huang back. Jumping up from the sofa, he quickly heads towards the exit. The man, already near the exit, opens the door. At this moment, Huang grabs the man's hand and asks him to wait a minute. A wig falls from the man's head and pink, silky strands of the girl's hair appeared in front of Huang's face. Huang couldn't believe his eyes, because a second ago a very ordinary guy was standing in front of him. Without letting go of the girl's hand, he still decides to check with her to see if she is a girl. The girl withdraws her hand, then she states that her mother wanted a boy and therefore she was raised as a son. Huang grabs the girl and explains that he doesn't have time to explain. The girl looks at the guy in surprise. She doesn't understand what Huang is trying to achieve. A man attacks a defenseless girl, which she did not expect at all. Coming closer, he puts the girl on the floor and takes off her jacket. The girl covers herself defenselessly. She asks Huang to stop, but due to her clouded mind, the man was powerless to resist. Huang, leaning towards the girl's face, decides to find out what her name is. The girl screams at the man, demanding that he leave her and let her go immediately. Continuing to undress, the man asks to tell him the girl's name. After a short time the couple finishes. The girl sits cross-legged. She couldn't believe what happened. The girl's eyes were in tears, because it was her first time. Huang, unable to listen to the girl, lay soullessly on the sofa. The girl quickly puts on her shirt and pants. The girl blamed the guy for what happened. Not wanting to be with him, she quickly leaves the room. 5 minutes later, a white-haired girl passes by the room where Huang was. The girl notices Mr. Huang and the state he was in. The girl decides to go into the room and take a closer look at the guy. The girl does not understand what exactly was next to the guy. The girl begins to understand what happened in her absence. With a grin, a plan appears in the girl's head. She noticed that this is a great opportunity to take advantage of the situation. The girl, continuing to grin, begins to take off her outerwear. Gradually undressing and taking off my skirt. The girl understands that she needs to arrange everything in such a way that people consider her a victim. After all, everyone will soon start looking for Huang. The girl also decides to mess up her hair. After a short time, a crowd gathered outside the room. Everyone came to watch what happened. The men who were previously next to Huang were confused about where he was. At that moment, a girl was sitting next to Huang. She pretended to cry, while Huang lay unconscious. All of Juan's acquaintances could not believe what had happened. The girl sat motionless next to Juan's bed. There was a blood stain on the sofa near the girl's shoulder. Everyone present was surprised by this turn. No one believed what they saw, because it was impossible. One of the men shouts to the guards to get everyone out and take the young gentleman to the hospital. Several guards immediately began to take away all the onlookers. One of Juan's charges immediately calls an ambulance, and the second also helped usher in the crowd. The girls standing behind were very unhappy with what they saw. Their faces were gloomy. Xin was beside herself with anger. She believed that she was the one who should have been next to Juan. Xiao Xiao was no less angry at what was happening. But both girls were of the same opinion that the unknown woman had no right to even think about such an action. The girl sitting next to Juan's bed continued to cry. At this moment Juan gets out of bed, holding his head as he tried to come to his senses. Xin came closer and poking his finger, he explained to the girl that she had once decided to seduce Juan. Lu removed his hands from his face. With tear-stained eyes, she tries to explain that she is not to blame for what happened. Xiao Xiao also decided to intervene and added that they were aware that Lu liked Huang, but what she did was a shame. The girl tries to justify herself with a trembling voice. She explains that she is not to blame for what happened, accusing girls of lies and provocation. Both girls jump on Lu and start kicking. The guests standing nearby and watching what happened were perplexed by what was happening. Lu tries to move away and covers himself with his hands. Xin and Xiao continue to accuse the girl of setting her up. A woman in a white coat enters the room and orders everyone to stop. The girls stopped abruptly. They were amazed by the presence of the director. The woman walks slowly towards Juan's bed in heels. The woman asks Juan to explain what happened and in great detail. Holding her head, Juan immediately assures that Lu had nothing to do with what happened. After all, he clearly remembered the girl in a man's wig. Everyone present was amazed at this statement, because no one understood who they were talking about. Lu was very embarrassed that she had been discovered. Xiao decides to mock the girl, saying that she should first look at herself. Xin, deciding to connect, also begins to mock the girl, calling her shameless. Lu understands that in a hopeless situation, she decides to tell that one was stuffed with pills. Xin points his finger at the girl, wondering what she's talking about. Lu adds with a grin that he's trying to talk about two personalities. At this moment, Xin and Xiao attack the girl and begin to beat her. The director is unable to listen to empty chatter and demands that the girls calm down. Frightened by the director, all the girls run out of the room. The directors add that they believe the guy and she is ready to ignore this case. Juan explains that he wants to find this girl. The director asks whether the guy feels the wine and wants to compensate for his actions. With a frown on his face, Juan confirms the director's words. Juan turns to his assistant to study the contents and conduct a test. Without further ado, the assistant agrees and heads out the door. In the same clinic but in a different office, another event occurs. The life support apparatus continued to make sounds of the woman's fading life. The heartbeat decreased every minute. The girl understood that her mother was dying, but she continued to console her and said that everything was fine. The woman decides to address her daughter and hands her a small bundle of paper. A woman in the last seconds of her life is trying to explain what exactly is in the paper, but she only manages to say that this is the end. The woman's heart stops and a long sound is heard on the machine. The girl was devastated by the loss of her mother and began to cry loudly. The girl decides to open the letter and read what is written inside. A tear-stained girl reads a letter in which his father's address is written. The girl clutches the letter and continues to call her mother. But at the moment the girl frowned with a statement that she was mistaken and for her this was just the beginning. Entering the room, Huang observes Master Liang. He decides to ask if he has met him before. An unknown man stood in front of him, but in his heart he understood who was hiding behind this appearance. Liang immediately covered his face with his hat and decided to remain silent. But we don't want to reveal our identity. Liang immediately goes on the attack and notices that Wan's pickup line is a little lame. One of the men standing behind calls Liang an idiot, noting that he is not destined to communicate with Wan on equal terms. The woman who watched the whole performance also decides to add that if Liang offends Wan, then the guy automatically becomes a dead man. With a grin, the guy notices Liang's voice and he immediately becomes sure that this is exactly the girl. With a smile, Wan confirms that he has problems with this and asks the guy to give him advice. Liang explains that he has just arrived in this city and should seek advice. The elderly man who also observed the situation laughs, because Liang's reaction was immodest and not arrogant. The guy decides to turn to his mother for advice. The woman immediately explains that he should not panic, because if he really wants to get into their family, he will have to undergo a DNA test. With a grin, the woman adds that they can correct the test results. The man also observes the woman's conversation with her son, but does not react to it in any way. He approaches Juan and asks for a favor, asking if the guy minds. With a smile, Juan wants to help the man. Juan explains that he is ready to do whatever he can. Clearing his throat, the man tries to explain what interests him. The man adds that his grandson has just arrived and some family members still have prejudices against him. Therefore, the man decided to invite Juan to be a witness for him and his grandson in a DNA test. The whole crowd was surprised that the man decided to turn to Juan. Juan began to think about all the options to help the man, but in the end he just agrees with the man. The man pushes the guy towards Juan with a grin. The guy awkwardly moved towards Juan. Having fallen in Juan's arms, the guy asks to be careful of Master Liang. The girls standing near the crowd notice that they look like a couple and they don't look like brothers at all. The entire crowd unanimously believes that they look alike as a couple, which greatly confuses Liang. Juan leans on Liang and adds that he will take his grandchildren to the hospital for a DNA test. The man agrees to thank for the help. Juan quietly asks if Master Liang could be someone else. Juan finishes his question about whether Liang is gay. The guy looks away indignantly and does not want to answer such a question. He calls Juan names and steps on his foot. Stepping aside, he looks at Juan, who is writhing in pain. At this moment, the guard presents a pistol to the back of Liang's head. The man explains that he is the grandson of the old gentleman, but that doesn't allow the guy to be so disrespectful to Juan. Juan demands that the man put down the gun and not hurt him, because he can be anyone. At this moment, without further ado, Liang neutralizes the man and twists his arm. Juan was amazed at such strength. With a grin, Liang notes the hospitality of their respected family. And he also adds that this is a different matter. Covering his face, Juan laughs a little, because he understood who was hiding behind Liang's personality. The man who was guarding Juan already in the parking lot explains that he will go with the master and meet the gentleman already at the hospital. Juan says goodbye to the man. Master Liang was also sitting in his car. Another man decides to knock on the next window. Opening the window, the guy asks Liang not to forget about today's agreements at 8 o'clock in the evening. Liang asks the guy to buy a 16-centimeter cake and return with the words that he will be home at 8 o'clock in the evening. The guy asks Liang not to be late and keep his promise. The guy reminds that Liang quite often does not keep his promises, because the boy is quite often sad because of this. The guy asks Liang to set the alarm for 19:30 and remind him of the meeting. Liang adds with a serious face that the guy should still find a girl. The guy asks which girl we are talking about. Liang explains that the guy is quite often sad. He should find a girl and let off some steam. The guy was very embarrassed by this word. Taking the guy's chin, Liang asks if he is paying enough money for the guy to find a girlfriend. Liang explains that the guy has already reached the age of majority and can get married. Liang smiled silently at the guy. Liang reminds that the guy shouldn't dream too much and that he should buy a cake for his arrival. The guy silently nods his head. The guy says goodbye and asks Liang to take care of himself and come back as soon as possible. Juan easily accelerates and begins to drive at high speed. Juan watched the road with a serious face. Juan still decides to ask Master Liang one question. Liang looked at the guy with interest. Juan asks if Liang lives with his little secretary. Liang sighs and adds that it is Juan who lives with his subordinates. The guy thinks Liang is embarrassed. It seems to Juan that after these words they cannot be in a relationship. Juan asks with a grin whether the guy is angry that he suggested such a thing. Liang explains that since Juan is a big shot, he shouldn't object or express his opinion at all. Juan adds that the trip will take some time and he might get bored because they are silent. Juan doesn't see any reaction in response. Therefore, with a smile, Juan adds that he will make the views from the window even brighter. Juan immediately changes gears. Saying that he will show an exciting ride, Juan begins to jump between the cars. Liang asks to wait, because he forgot to fasten his seatbelts, which is why he immediately started tossing from side to side in the car. At one point, Liana throws herself towards Juan. The car hits a rock, causing it to be thrown violently. Liang does not have time to grab the seatbelt. Liang falls to his knees on his face, which makes one very embarrassed. Since one knew who it was, he was always embarrassed by the proximity to Liang. Liang yells at Juan because of his actions. The guy asks not to bite him, because he is driving. Liang states that he doesn't care. Juan reminds that Liang wanted to join the family and he needs these DNA tests. After a short time, the couple reaches the hospital. Juan's assistant greets you at the entrance. He greets his boss and explains that the test has already been scheduled. Getting out of his car, Juan thanks the man for the work done. The man notices that something is wrong with the boss's hand. Juan blocks his hand and asks him not to worry about him. Liang silently walks towards the hospital. With a grin, Juan adds that he was bitten by a wild cat. The man was outraged by this. He demanded to show him this cat that he was ready to deal with. Juan asks the man to calm down. Juan looks towards Liang and adds that someday this cat will be tamed. The man, perplexed, tries to understand what his boss is talking about. Having reached the blood donation room, the doctor asks not to worry, because the test is very easy. A man sat next to Liang and kindly asked the doctor to proceed. Liang with a smile asked the doctor not to stop and do it as quickly as possible, because he was interested. Is the man sitting next to him really his father? Looking at the man, he adds that the man next to him cannot be his father, who abandoned his wife and son. The man was indignant in his thoughts and understood that they were trying to publicly humiliate him. The doctor kindly agrees. I note that he is ready to do this for Master Liang. Juan notices a strange connection, which is why he slowly approaches the doctor. The man grabs the doctor's hand and asks him to wait. The man did not understand why the unknown person interrupted the DNA test process. Liang himself was at a loss as to what was happening. The doctor was surprised that Master Huang interfered in the medical process. The guy leans towards Liang with a smile and adds that he will personally conduct a blood test for the master. The doctor asks to let him go, because he is in pain. Juan, with a crazy face, asks to be trusted with this important thing. Without meaning it in Liang's mind, I think that the guy is trying to prank him now. Liang thanks him for his concern, but asks that it be done by a professional. At this moment, Juan, out of nowhere, takes out a certificate and adds that he has a document about an army doctor's certificate. Without waiting for an answer, Juan proceeds to draw blood from Liang's finger. Please don't worry. The guy carefully takes blood from his finger with a syringe and adds that he will be gentle. Liang tries to restrain himself, because he feels unpleasant. Liang notices that the blood has already been drawn. There was a small wound on the finger from which blood was still oozing. The prince was filled with Liang's blood for further analysis. Father Liang couldn't believe that Mr. Huang would kneel down in front of the young guy to take blood, assuming that they were old friends. Huang adds that he will personally bring results for the Liang family upon completion. Father Liang asks you to forgive the young master for disturbing him today. The man adds that as soon as he returns, he will immediately tell this news. Juan asks not to mention this and not to rush. Father Liang agrees and leaves, but at this moment the guy asks to consider his proposal. Liang adds that he knows about 15% of the company's shares. He asks not to forget him and support him at the board meeting. With a smirk, Master Liang wonders why he should listen to the guy. Liang explains that if he becomes the heir of the Liang family, he will force everyone to bow. This is the reason. Since the man gave him life, he wanted to provide him with a good future. Liang planned to take care of his father so that he could enjoy the rest of his life. Liang adds that if a man doesn't do this, he can handle it on his own. With a grin, Liang asks him to think carefully about his proposal. Juan laughed loudly at the guy's words, because it sounded very gloomy. Juan apologizes for his behavior. Liang's father notices his son's hostility in the fact that he does not hide it at all. The man adds that he understands that the guy hates his father. Liang comes closer and says that he wants to hate him, but he doesn't deserve it. The man looks at his son in surprise and just calls his name. The man decides to pull his hand to the guy's shoulder, explaining that he didn't know about the birth of a child. Liang removes his shoulder, loudly declaring that his mother was already dead and that it was unnecessary. Liang turns around and explains that he has things to do for the evening, so he will leave first. Juan thinks quickly and takes Liang by the hand, offering to lead him. Liang reminds that the DNA analysis has already been done and he does not understand at all why Juan is doing this. Juan grins and continues to pull him to the car. Having embraced Liang, he explains that he is doing this for a serious matter. Liang removes his hand and asks the guy to calm down. Juan spreads his hands and reminds him that the guy needs to be home by 8, so he decided to offer a car to get him there faster. Liang clarifies whether this was the serious matter that Huang was talking about. The guy asks not to doubt him. Taking his chin, Huang decides to play a joke and adds that if the guy wants, they can do something else in the car. Liang gets into the car and asks to send him home as soon as possible, thanking him for his concern. Huang quietly adds with a smile that the guy doesn't understand his jokes at all. They get behind the wheel and drive off in Huang's car. I got home and thanked Liang for his concern and for the guy giving him a ride back. Liang took his hand and asked him to wait and give him his contact information. Liang unfastens his belt and explains that there is no need for this, since a simple person like him is not worthy of seeking connections with people of high social status. With a grin, Huang adds that the guy might have forgotten something. Taking out the phone, Huang reminds him that he is the key to joining the Liang family and that he should not insult him. Liang silently looks at the phone being provided. Huang is not far behind and still asks to give him the phone, because otherwise there will be consequences. Liang boldly takes the phone in his thoughts. He didn't understand why the master was fixated on him. Huang pats Liang on the head and adds that he likes obedient children. The guy doesn't understand why another guy is stroking his head. Liang suspects that Huang is in love with his handsome appearance and wants to court him as a man. Liang begins to understand why Huang behaves the way he does. Straightening his tie, Liang explains that he understands Huang's feelings. Huang looks at the guy questioningly and waits for further development. Liang moves closer to Huang's face and tries to explain to him. Being near Huang's face, he calls himself straight. After getting out of the car, Liang adds that Huang can be anyone, but he has no intention of returning his feelings. At the same time, I throw the phone back into the car. Huang was angry at this act, because he knew who was hiding behind the guy's appearance. Opening his phone in his thoughts, he added that he had already checked everything with the help of a doctor. There was a message on the phone in which the doctor confirmed the guy's guess. At this time, Liang decides to walk along the noisy road. Various voices are heard from all the windows. Liang wanted to live in a small family and in an ordinary city apartment. While approaching a luxurious home, he also wanted his family to consist of only 3 people with a simple life. Assistant Liang was already standing at the entrance and reminded them that they should hurry, because they might be late. Liang asked to drive as fast as possible, but at that moment their car was being watched by a family. The guy noticed that Liang got out of Huang's car and moved back to his secretary. The woman suspects that the guy is hiding something from them. With a smirk, the woman planned to follow him and dig up something interesting on him. The women stopped behind a tree. They were surprised that Liang came to such a protected place. Liang's car drives up to the entrance of a huge concrete wall. The ground security guard greets Mr. Liang. He asks to come soon. The guy notices that they won't be able to drive behind them unnoticed. The woman was surprised that Liang had a house that looked like a prison. She assumes that the guy has a lot of secrets that he is trying to hide from them and she will do everything to find out more about him. Liang drove through a giant corridor of concrete walls that looked like a prison. When I got to the end, a huge park opened up in front of the car, a gift to her son. At that time the boy was sitting in the center playing with an airplane. The boy looks in surprise at a passing car. He was glad that his mother arrived on time this time. The girl immediately went to the child and greeted him. There was a cake in the secretary's hand. The boy greeted his mother, adding that he thought she would be late this time. She congratulated her son on his birthday and explained that this is why she arrived on time. The boy noticed that it was already 10 minutes past 8, even though Uncle Shinan said a meeting at 8:30. Liang understood that Shinan had lied by saying that it was 8 o'clock. The boy kisses his mother, which makes her very embarrassed. The boy was glad that his mother still came on time. He was very happy. The girl mentally thanked your secretary for her help. Wiping away tears, the secretary reminded them that the food was ready and they should cut the cake. Pleasant music was playing in the establishment, and Shinan and Liang congratulated the boy on his birthday. She put the crown on the boy and congratulated him on his birthday again. They bring a cake to the boy and he blows out the candles again. Happy birthday. The boy decides to make a wish and asks that his mother and uncle be happy, and that he also wants to grow up very quickly so that he can start helping his mother. After these words, the boy blows out the candle. The girl was touched by this, causing her to shed tears. They brought the girl in and noticed that at his age children are innocent and carefree. While she was helping the child put down the cake, the girl noticed that her son always looked lonely. The boy invites his mother to try the cake as well. The girl comes up with a smile and takes the cake from the child's hands. The holiday ended and the girl put the child to bed. When the boy fell asleep through his sleep, he said that his mother should return on time, and even if she was late, he would still be happy. The girl was amazed that the child was so concerned about this. She understood that although the child never lacked food or clothing, he never had maternal care. The girl remains from the boy's bed, and in her thoughts she understood that she would never give proper care and a good father. At this moment, the girl's phone receives a call. She took the phone and leaves the room, closing the door behind her. The girl picks up the phone and wonders who is calling her. She drops her jacket when she hears that it was Juan. Liang was at a loss as to why Juan called. The guy wonders what he could have done before him. Juan explains that they met with pawns and did not fully get to know each other. Liang was confused because he did not understand what Juan was talking about. Juan begins to read the text from a piece of paper and talk about himself. Liang still didn't understand why the guy was telling him this. In a moment, Juan stops and clears his throat. Squeezing a piece of paper in his hand, Juan adds that his entire career is built on the army, because this is the mission of his family. Juan planned to try his best to also spend more time with his family. Liang understood that this was exactly what he and his son were missing, namely a third family member. Although Shinan was present in her, he is just her brother. At one point, his Aunt Fan introduced her son Shinan. Liang is grateful for such a revelation, but he does not experience mutual feelings. Taking off his wig and letting loose his pink locks, Liang adds that he is not the person who can reciprocate his feelings. The girl asks for forgiveness with a smile and explains that she is not the man who will love him. Without listening to Liang to the end, Juan hangs up, which leaves the girl perplexed. The girl adds that the guy is really strange. If you don't confess to him, he immediately hangs up. 3 days later, Liang is playing golf with his business partner. They discuss the terms of the contract and further cooperation. At this moment, Liang's phone receives a call. Liang greets Juan. The guy immediately asks to get to his cafe and discuss important issues. Juan also adds that this concerns the fight for the company's shares. Liang shouts into the phone that he has a deal for 120 million yuan. Without listening to Liang, he asks him to be an obedient guy and not to be late, which made him very indignant. Having weighed everything, Liang understands that a deal of 120 million cannot be compared with what Juan can do, as well as a DNA test. Liang quickly throws on his cloak and heads for the exit, because he should have met with Juan. She did not understand why Liang was leaving in a hurry. The man was also outraged by this because they had a business meeting. She immediately bowed out and asked to forgive Liang for her behavior. They were ready to compensate for this. The man explains that he is not the least bit offended and is ready to talk next time. At this moment, Juan was in a private room on the second floor. The waitress invited Liang to a business meeting. Liang bursts into the room asking what Juan wanted from him. The guy dressed up in a suit was sitting at the table. He greeted the guy calmly. Liang did not understand why Juan was in military uniform. He assumed that in this way the guy oppressed others with his strength. The guy invited Liang to drink caramel macchiato at the table, because in this restaurant it was impeccable. Liang was not in the mood and asked Juan to move closer to the point. Juan said with a serious face that since the guy did not want to drink with him, you should consider this document. Liang decides to clarify what kind of document it is. The paper wrote a report on sex chromosomes. With a grin, Juan noted that it was really strange to him that Master Liang was obviously a man, but had 2 X chromosomes. Clutching the report sheet in his hand, Liang indignantly declares that the guy did not have the right to do a sex chromosome test. Juan continues to drink his coffee without any emotion. Juan asks Liang to promise to fulfill 3 conditions for him and then he will keep a little secret a secret. Liang hits the table and demands that he explain if he doesn't. Juan adds that otherwise he will simply reveal the secret to everyone. Since men in the Liang family work for a living, nothing will happen to him. Liang sits down silently and decides to listen to those same 3 sentences. Taking his cup, Liang takes a few sips while listening to all the conditions. Juan, with a serious expression on his face, asks to marry him. Liang spits out all the coffee, but Juan manages to cover himself. Juan asks the girl not to worry, because he knows that the girl will have to dress up as a man for various reasons and this will remain only between them. Clearing his throat, Liang asks to continue and voice the next sentence. Juan takes the girl's hand, wanting to get closer to her. Juan asks him to trust and rely on him, and not to lie or betray him. Removing her hand, Liang takes hold of her face and asks her to continue. Wan sighs languidly at this. Wan continues and states the third condition, viz., the guy wanted to see the girl in women's clothing, and also how Liang combed her hair. Liang is very worried about this desire. She silently looks at the guy. Liang mockingly wonders if Wan is bisexual and if he is looking for someone who can satisfy both needs. This threw Wan into a stupor, because the girl did not understand him that way. Wan gets angry at this statement and asks him to stop thinking about it. He swung at the girl, but the girl managed to dodge. Liang suggests that Wan likes girls who look like men. Wan emphasizes that the girl is very feminine. Liang sheepishly notes that the guy has truly unique taste. Wan confirms her guesses, because he really has a very unique taste. Liang silently looks away, wondering what to answer the guy. Liang gets up from the table and declares that he can't continue like this and they should get down to business. So, she has everything, namely money, company and real estate. Wan looks at the girl with loving eyes and listens carefully. The girl moves closer and tries to understand what exactly the guy wants from her. Wan leaned over the girl and declared that he was not interested in anything, because everything would remain with her. This mug of tea makes Liang fall off the saucer. Wan moves closer and adds that he doesn't want anything except Liang. This confuses the girl greatly. Liang notes in her thoughts that if Wan were an ordinary person, she would most likely be touched. Liang was embarrassed that when she investigated, she found that the Qiao family was too high for her. Qiao Xianxian's mother was a famous rock star in the world and performed on stage. She was called Madame Qiao by her fans. After a while, she took photos of the paparazzi of mystery and found out that her real identity is the royal princess of the Ning kingdom. After some time, she married the general of the Ning kingdom. The man commanded the entire army. The people present at the ceremony congratulated this marriage on the birthday of their son. The girl noted that anyone would be touched by such a recognition, but she understood that if she married an intriguing family member, she would be condemned because of the illegitimate child. Wana is interested in what the girl is afraid of. He notes that the girl is good in business and marriage will be beneficial for her. Wan wonders why the girl hates him so much. Liang notices the guy's light eyes. They reminded her of Kong Kang's eyes. Wan continued to look at the girl with a serious face and wait for an answer. Liang silently decides to poke his finger in Wan's face. Wan skillfully turns his face away from me, not understanding why Liang did it. Stepping aside, Wan reminds that the coffee will soon get cold. Wan offers to repeat the moans and continue the conversation. Liang is silent. Everyone falls to the ground and tries to think about what is happening. The girl is trying to explain her position more clearly. The girl explains that she has a son who was born out of wedlock and this could interfere with their relationship. Wan was greatly amazed by such a statement and silently looked at the girl. With a grin, Liang adds that his royal family will not be able to accept a minx like her. But this did not push Wan away one bit. He came closer and asked to tell him more and also the age of the child. The girl looks away and explains that her son is already 2 years old. Wana, having thought it over, suggests that if they had a child, he would already be 3 years old. Without listening to the end, Wan leaves the door and suddenly disappears. Liang notices that this prince of the royal family was expecting and she understands why he always does everything energetically. Liang was glad that the guy left before she fell in love with him. Liang looks into a full mug of coffee and sees his reflection. Tears welled up in the girl's eyes. Half an hour later there was a knock on the door. The girl quickly wipes away her tears and takes on the appearance of a man. She allows an unknown person to enter the room. She goes into the room and explains that Master Huang called me and asks me to come to the Liang mansion. The girl couldn't believe that everything was happening so quickly. She takes the girl by the shoulder and asks what happened in his absence. The girl remains silent and asks to refrain. She slowly leaves the room. She then adds that she is fine and they should hurry. The girl explains that she needs to accept this and she wanted to see what kind of report Wan would show the old man. The girl arrived at the mansion and greets everyone present. Wan congratulated Liang on becoming a full-fledged member of their family. In the meeting room, Father Liang explained that he has a son and he is proud of him, because he is his direct heir. Liang walks closer to his great-grandfather and bows. The man solemnly announces that today he is the successor of the company. The man also asks to thank Master Huang for his help. Liang silently looks at Master Huang, who in turn shines brightly with his smile. Liang thanks Master Huang, but in her mind she did not understand why the guy left in anger, and now he is so happy. She suspects that the guy wants to tell everything about his lies. Liang adds that he cannot understand Wan's actions at all. Wan continued to smile and look at the girl, which greatly worried her. Liang is unable to hold her hand and Wan abruptly lets go of it. Wan's face immediately changed. Huang adds with a grin that since Master Liang becomes a member of the family, he is obliged to fulfill an important role and continue the family line. Wan also adds that the time has come for him to get married. Liang immediately understands what Wan is really up to. The man smiles and notes the genius of the idea. The man was happy with this offer and he really wanted to hold his future great-grandchildren in his arms. Wan explains that there is already one Master Lian. He hits the table and asks him to stop provoking him. Liang noted in his thoughts that it didn't matter to him what the guy said, but he didn't want to drag his son into this. Wan calls Lian cute when he says his name. Liang held his head at such statements. She continued to hold the gentleman. Liang said with a smile that he was in a hurry and forgot all the gifts in his car. He also wanted to help Master Huang out with one of them. Liang asked Wan to help him take all the gifts and take his own into the car. The man does not head towards the exit to talk. At one point, Liang turns around to express his dissatisfaction. Wan takes Liang by the waist and continues to head towards the exit, which greatly worries the guy. The men watching this scene notice that Liang really likes Wan. At this moment, another car drives up to the mansion. Liang takes Wan by the tie and demands to explain what he wants from him. Wan smiles and reminds him of the 3 conditions that he previously voiced. Liang explains that she didn't think about such a thing and she reminds her of a trivial matter. The girl explains that she can tolerate absolutely anything, but they are ready to tolerate her son being offended in any way. The girl with a serious face looked into the guy's eyes. The guy also looked at Liang's face in love. At some point, Wan silently kisses the girl on the forehead, which makes her very embarrassed. The girl leaves the guy and still demands to explain what he demands from her. The guy silently touches her nose. With the words that he wants to marry the girl reminds that she has a child. This does not bother Wan at all and he explains that he already knows this. The girl screams at the guy and explains that they are ready to travel with the child because it is her own child. He doesn't understand how many times she is ready to repeat this, because he understood everything. Liang didn't understand why the guy liked it so much. She was still looking for the catch in all this. Wan takes the girl by the chin and wonders if the girl thinks that he wants to marry her for fun. The guy tries to hug the girl, saying that she should agree before he changes his mind. The girl pushes the guy away and sends him to hell, because she hasn't promised him anything yet. The guy is wondering if the girl is afraid to get a marriage certificate with him. The girl explains that this doesn't bother her one bit and that she should go and get it. The guy presses closer to the girl and silently looks at her with loving eyes, confused and not moving away from each other. With a smile, the guy offers to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau. The girl was not ready to go right now. She did not understand why there was such a rush. Wan remembers that they still have to wait because he is a soldier. He will first have to report to his superiors before getting married. The girl covered herself in sweat. She did not understand how to respond to this. She comes up in the car and asks if Liang is in the car. Look, he opens the door slightly and clarifies what exactly is happening. She takes the girl by the hand with displeasure and demands that she quickly go into the living room. She and Liang run to the living room while Huang remains silent in the car. The man demands that Liang come closer to him. The woman looked at him with a gloomy smile. She noticed that the guy would be dead after this. Liang looked at the woman silently. Liang assumed that the woman also found out that he was not a man and came to complain about it. Liang stands next to the man and bows to him, asking whether his grandfather wanted to see him. Liang had a question why he was invited here. A man with sparkling eyes asks him if he has the truth. The woman adds with a grin that she saw it with her own eyes and she has proof. She shows on the phone that the man has a grandson and this child is out of wedlock. The woman immediately says that the child is behind a high fence where there is a playground. With a sneer, the woman approaches Liang. She wonders if the guy planned to build a kindergarten there. Liang did not know how to respond to this statement. The man, unable to continue listening to such accusations, slaps the woman in the face. The man explains the place of a woman and that he has worked hard for decades to teach the girl manners. The woman is in tears. She explains that it was Liang who broke the rules, but it was her who hit her. The man explains that the surveillance, photograph, and offensive words were an excuse to get shares in the company, Liang tries to stop the man. The man adds that he will not punish the woman, but this is because he really wants to find out if he has the truth. The woman adds that her son already has a girlfriend, he shouldn't worry, because he will be a pure great-grandson right now. Wana silently enters the living room and explains that these are the wrong words. The guy explains that this is Zhao's child and therefore he does not belong to their family. The woman tries to say something, but her son stops her. Liang's father asks him to take his mother away and stop humiliating herself in front of Wan. The elder asks not to laugh at him because he raised his daughter poorly. Wan explains to the man that he shouldn't apologize for something like this, because in rich families such quarrels often occur. Huang explains that he does not plan to mention this in the future so as not to spoil the reputation of the Liang family. Wan puts his hand on Liang's shoulder and adds that he congratulates the man. Huang pushes Liang with the statement that she really has a son. Liang was ready to tear the guy apart for such a statement. The man wonders why Liang is hiding his son and wife. He suspects he is afraid to repeat the mistakes of his father. The man explains that he was wrong when he did not give status to his mother at that time, but he explains that he will not marry the guy for the sake of company. The man throws up his hands and explains that he shouldn't worry and they can return them back. Liang was puzzled and did not know what to answer the man. Liang silently looked to the side and thought about this situation. He finally thanks his grandfather, adding that his mother was grateful to hear this. Liang explains that he will not be able to return his son back to the Liang family. One explains that he understands why Liang does not want to return him to the family, because there are quite a lot of conspiracies and various mysteries. The men looked at each other at this moment after Wan's words. Wan explains that children should not be overprotected, should not go to school and develop. Liang explains that her son is only 2 years old and it's too early to talk about it. Wan adds that the grandfather is all very important for the child's growth and he should spend more time in society. Liang notices that she absolutely cannot take her eyes off the guy. Look, he closes his eyes and still looks away in embarrassment. The men notice that Liang should think about the future of her son, because she cannot hide him behind walls forever. The man wants to see his grandson in the near future. Sighing, Liang agrees with the men and is ready to bring her child once a week for dinner. Liang explains this topic that it will be difficult for the child to accept this situation and family relationships. The man was happy with the statement and smiled kindly in response. The man wanted to see his grandchildren soon. He asked for the first meeting today. He agreed and offered to help Liang pick up the child. Wan heads for the exit. Liang asks to stop and wait for him. The girl touches Wan's pant leg. This made the guy very embarrassed, so much so that his face turned red. Liang immediately calms down and explains that she is talking to her son in advance. It will be very strange that he suddenly has a great-grandfather. The upset man agrees with him. Liang stands up abruptly and asks his grandfather not to forget about him, because he is really already hungry. The whole family sits down at the table to start dinner. Liang's father notices that his son still hates sitting so far away from him. Liang notices his father's sad face. Liang addresses everyone present and thanks for their hospitality, also saying that she will not allow her father to sit alone. The man was glad that his son was ready to call him father. At this moment the man reaches out to us to thank him. The whole family clinks glasses. Huang adds with a smile that he is glad to be accompanied by Liang. The man clears his throat and asks for the next dish. But at this moment the waitress comes into the room and gradually lays out the dishes. Huang notices the new dishes being served. Quite spicy dishes were on the table in front of the whole family. The man adds that Liang had been abroad for quite a long time and missed home-cooked food. Today the man specially ordered Sichuan cuisine. Liang raises his glass and thanks his grandfather for such warm hospitality. Liang notices that Wan's hands are shaking from eating so much. Liang mocks that Huang suffers from such spicy cuisine. Wan has difficulty eating spicy food at this time. Liang clarifies why one can't eat spicy food. Liang explains that to make Sichuan noodles even tastier, add chili sauce. Wan was shaking from such spicy food. The girl explains that she is from Sichuan and she cannot live without spicy food. Liang whispers in her ear that if he wants to marry her, will the guy be able to eat all the spicy food? Wan looked at Liang silently. There was a plate of hellishly spicy food in front of him. Without another word, Wan starts eating all the spicy food. This shocked Liang greatly. Wan eats the entire bowl of noodles and leaves no doubt about his determination. Wan's ears were burning and steam was coming out of his mouth. Juan forcefully states that he also likes spicy food. The man laughs, noting that since the guy loves spicy food, he can come to dinner with Liang more often. Liang didn't want to stop and suggested eating more portions since Juan loved spicy food so much. Juan silently stares at another bowl of spicy noodles. Sighing once again, the guy gets ready. Without further ado, Juan decisively begins to devour the second plate. Liang couldn't believe what she saw. Liang couldn't understand why the guy didn't say no, but started torturing himself. Juan had no face from such sharpness. Liang decides to cool down and notices that the guy did absolutely nothing wrong for her. He even protected her in a difficult moment and helped her. The girl takes champagne from the table and attracts Juan's attention. Juan, with a flushed face, takes the glass from Liang's hands and drinks the contents in one gulp. Liang doesn't have time to stop the guy, because it's her glass. Juan drinks everything without hearing the girl. Juan returns the glass to Liang, thanking her for her concern. Liang denies it, adding that she doesn't need the glass. Juan was once so hospitable. The guy thanks everyone present and heads to the exit. The men thank him in return and ask Liang to take the gentleman home. Without further ado, they get into Liang's car and quickly drive to Juan's house. Juan silently looks at the girl's face. Liang watched the road carefully. Having reached the house, the girl reminds that they have arrived and have been standing there for half an hour. She wonders how long it will take the guy to leave the car. The guy explains that it's not so simple, because he really likes the girl and doesn't want to part with her. The girl lowers her head in embarrassment. She is ashamed to listen to this. Juan takes the girl's face with both hands. The girl blushed deeply. Juan leans over to her and notices that the girl's heart began to beat even faster. The girl shrugs it off, trying to escape from Juan's hands. The girl indignantly declares that he is touching her and she is ready to sue him for this. Juan was amused by this and laughed. Juan notices that the girl wants to tell the whole world that she is actually a woman. Liang didn't know what to say in response, pointing her finger at the guy. Liang states that since the guy doesn't want to get out of the car, she will give up the car and go to another one. Juan angrily wonders why the girl keeps rejecting him. Juan was absolutely serious. He planned to take care of the girl. He was interested in how he could make her love him. Juan lets go of the girl's hand. Liang immediately removes his hand and sits silently. Liang decides to explain that nothing in the world is constant and she only relies on herself to be truly invincible. Juan suggests that from that incident, the girl now doubts and resists men. Juan also notes that the girl's country is very conservative. Juan nevertheless decides to get out of the car, realizing that he will not achieve anything using this method. The girl was very happy that the guy finally got out of her car. Juan tries to say a final goodbye, but Liang immediately leaves. Juan stands on the side of the road in bewilderment, because the girl immediately ran away from him and didn't say anything. Juan decides to call his mother for advice on what to do next. The woman greeted her son kindly. Juan immediately declares that he is in love, which greatly amazes the woman. Covering her face, the woman notices that the heartless iron tree has finally blossomed. She believed that something great should happen soon. Juan adds that the girl is going through a difficult time. This greatly affects the woman. Juan explains that although the girl has the best food, clothing and other forms of entertainment, she is unhappy. The guy adds that although it is not his fault, he feels responsible for it. Juan also wonders if his mother would mind if the girl had a son from another father. The woman does not immediately decide to answer the guy. Juan listens carefully to the receiver, waiting for an answer. Juan asks if his mother can hear him. The woman starts shouting at the guy that before asking, he should make her his wife, and it is obvious to her that this is unrequited love. Juan decides to ask again if his mother still objects. The woman, ignoring the question, asks what gender the child is and how old it is. Juan explains that he is a 2-year-old son. A woman wonders if her son knows about Transformers. The guy confirms. The woman demands that the guy go and buy it, because he has absolutely no idea what the girl needs. Juan hangs up, explaining that his mother can't talk about love. Liang recalls that her grandfather talked about a meeting of the company's shareholders, where she should also be present. Liang suggests that this is not exactly a simple meeting where he is surrounded by women. She feels like this is actually a date. The Liangs turn towards their grandfather with downcast eyes. The man greets him and introduces him to his granddaughter Lu. The man asks for help so that Liang can send the girl home. A girl with a sweet expression asks me to forgive me for disturbing you. In her thoughts, Liang understood that this was the wife his grandfather wanted to choose. Liang notes that the girl looks quite innocent, but in fact, behind the scenes she has done a lot of dirty things. Liang gets up from the sofa and throws his coat on himself. Liang notes that he copes much better with such hypocritical women. In her thoughts, the girl noticed that she should take this opportunity to be alone with Master Liang. The girl did not fully understand why 3 more girls went with them. She was worried that everyone got into one single car because she wanted to be alone with Liang. The girl understood that the rare opportunity to be alone was destroyed by him. At this moment, Liang looked at the girl. She was very dissatisfied. Liang reminds the girl that the car has air conditioning and she should still wear his coat. The girl was embarrassed. Taking the coat, she thanked Master Liang. The girls sitting nearby were outraged by this act. They also wanted to receive care from Master Liang. Liang sits back and waits for an even more interesting show, which is about to start any minute. The pink-haired girl sitting next to her decides to chat with Lu and find out if she has a sister. The second girl also notices that Sister Lu is quite a big deal in the city. The girl also notices that her sister slipped a drug into Wan's drink 4 years ago, which caused him to go into a rage and stop communicating with her. The second girl decided to incite and she pretended that she did not expect to hear such a thing. Both girls start laughing at Lu, saying that since her sister is capable of such and such, then she is too. Lu, unable to bear it any longer, breaks down and explains that girls should not talk about such things and respect subordination. At that moment the car stops. Liang angrily declares that you need to leave his car immediately. The girls immediately get out of the car. In Lu's thoughts, she felt like she had forgotten about manners and lost the opportunity to communicate with Liang. The girls sitting nearby continued to shout at each other, which is why Lu calms them down. Having driven a sufficient distance, C stops and looks in the side mirror. He assumed that Liang wanted to watch the entire show. She wonders why the guy decided to drive them away so quickly. At the moment C falls silent waiting for an answer. Liang takes off his wig with a very angry grimace. She adds that she didn't expect Wan to look like such an honest person. The girl looks into the distance and wonders whether Wan has so many affairs. The girl gets to her mansion. She enters the house heavily. The girl did not expect to hear this. She still couldn't leave. Sitting on the sofa, she noticed that the guy looked like a real playboy. The girl assumed that the guy was actually playing on women's feelings. At this moment, the son's voice is heard from behind. He calls his mother. The girl turns towards her son and watches him next to the bed. The boy was beaming with joy because his mother had finally returned home. The girl strokes her son on the head and clarifies for some reason he is still awake. The boy acquires his mother with the desire to sleep with her. The boy explains that he wants to listen to some unusual story. The girl nods in response. The girl begins to tell a story about a monk who is in the temple. This is not what the boy wanted to hear. The boy asks the girl to tell him the real story. The girl doesn't quite understand what her son wants to hear from her. The girl noticed that she had nothing to tell because her grandfather beat her throughout her childhood. In her youth, she was busy only with business. The girl was silent for another minute and could not understand that she should tell her son because there were no sweet stories in her life. The girl offers to wait for her son, because she will now bring a book with stories. The boy asks his mother to hurry up. At that moment Wan called on the phone, which the boy immediately noticed. The boy picks up the phone and with a serious face explains that his mother is busy at the moment. There was a minute's silence on the line. Wan decides to find out why the boy is not sleeping, because this could have a bad effect on his body. He should already go to bed. Wan offers to tell the boy a bedtime story. Wan asks the child to lie down and take cover so he can start telling the story. The boy introduces himself to Wan as Kan. Wan notices in his thoughts that the boy's name turns out to be Kan. The guy adds in an intriguing voice that he will now begin to tell the story. Wan decides to tell a story about ducks, which immediately interests the boy. Wan did not have time to finish the story before the boy fell asleep. At this moment, Liang returned to the room and heard Huang telling a story. The girl silently watched her son sleep, hugging the phone. The boy slept soundly while Wan continued to tell the story about the ducks. The girl silently stood aside and watched all this. Wan decides to find out if the boy is sleeping. At that moment, Liang was approaching the bed to pick up the phone. The girl takes the phone from the bed. Stepping aside, the girl thanks Wan for his help. Liang decides to also answer the terms they discussed earlier. The girl looked into the distance and tried to explain that she had already thought about everything. The girl put her hand on the glass and said that one shouldn't call her anymore, after all, she doesn't want to have anything to do with him. The girl declares that they are completely unsuitable for each other. One starts yelling into the phone because he didn't understand why they weren't suitable. The girl didn't give him a single chance, I didn't even spend time with each other. The girl declares that since he is not suitable for her, she will not give him a single chance. One wonders if the girl is really not in love with him. At this moment Liang tries to disconnect the connection. Liang stops and speaks into the phone in embarrassment. The girl is interested in such tricks. One doesn't quite understand what kind of tricks we are talking about. One declares that he has no other girls, only her. The girl adds, I worry that the guy is leaving all the girls, he doesn't have time to tell his version. The girl hangs up without listening to Juan. The guy is silent from the balcony down. The girl also could not sleep and sat on the balcony looking at the stars. 10 days passed after this call and Liang returned to his usual pace of work. Liang took control. The girl also noticed that Juan did not call her again after the last call. Liang was at a loss and didn't know what to say about this. The girl believed that she should find her son's father. The girl turns around and decides to turn to her assistant. Liang asks for help. She, not wanting to refuse, nods approvingly. The girl asks C to set up a blind date. She did not understand what we were talking about. At this moment, the winner was announced elsewhere, one of whom was Juan. Everyone there clapped and noticed that he did not use his position to use dirty tricks and achieved everything absolutely on his own. The man gives him a medal and congratulates him. The whole crowd noticed how beautiful he was. Juan breathes a sigh of relief because the military exercise lasted all these 10 days. Everyone in the car, Juan immediately starts eating junk food. Juan notices that there was a piece of paper next to him. The message said that the new CEO of the company would throw a party to celebrate the matchmaking of his cousin. Juan clutches the piece of paper, wondering why it was sent to him. The next morning, Liang left his mansion as always. The guard greeted his boss. Having left the mansion, they were surprised to see a guy there. Liang him for quite some time. Juan looked at Liang's car with a serious look. She decides to clarify why Juan is near their mansion. Juan overturns the car and asks why the girl doesn't give him a chance, and she's ready to date anyone blindly. Liang explains this by saying that they are not suitable for each other. The girl decides to get out of the car and talk to the guy in person. Juan notices this and looks intently at the girl coming out. The girl leans on her car and declares that although he is stubborn, you shouldn't blame him for his rudeness. Liang explains that the guy is interfering with her life and this is harassment. Juan decides to silently listen to the girl and then tell his version. Juan explains that in one of the meetings the girl stated that she has a son and this does not bother him at all. Juan reoffers to marry him and accept her son. The girl is trying to say something through force. The girl pushes the guy away and explains that she didn't know so well then. The girl states that she does not know how many girls the guy has abandoned and he has not denied this in the past. Juan doesn't fully understand what kind of abandoned girl Liang is talking about now. Juan explained that he didn't have time to explain because he was called up for a military exercise. Liang clarifies what kind of military exercises we are talking about. The guy explains that he was absent for 10 days and 10 nights. The guy tries to take the girl's hand again. The guy hugged the girl and explained that he had slept only 3 hours over the past 10 days, he lacked water and ate only bread. Therefore, as soon as Huang saw the message about Liang's matchmaking party, he immediately arrived. Juan explains that this bothered him because he didn't want anyone to get ahead of him. Juan wonders if Liang has a heart. The girl begins to lose consciousness from the guy's smell. Liang slowly falls onto the hood of the car. She couldn't stand the smell. At this moment, Assistant Liang got out of the car. He immediately clarified where Juan got out from. He explains that he had just arrived and was in the swamp. She adds that Liang has misophobia and should not approach her yet. Juan leaves the car, saying that as soon as he takes a shower, he will immediately return to their conversation. Liang adds that the guy should take a shower at home and not enter her yard. She whispers that he conducted an investigation into that conversation. She was able to find out what those girls said. She explains this by saying that all the gossip around Huang was an unfounded rumor. Su explains that Master Huang did not touch the girls at all. When that incident happened, Lu simply seized the moment. Liang understands that she was wrong, because it turns out nothing happened. Liang understands that she has no other choice. She asks her assistant what she should do next. Liang adds that at the moment, although Won likes her, it seems to her that the guy will not be faithful to her forever. The girl, holding her tie, explains that she can withstand absolutely any change. The girl takes Shi's shoulder and adds that it's about Can. The girl did not want to expose her son to the sophistication of the adult world. Liang decides to name her ideal, namely to find a man who is less powerful and one who trusts her. The girl herself does not notice how she describes C who is nearby. The man watches, waiting for the girl to call his name. The girl continued to explain that it was precisely such labels that interested her. The man is at a loss. Liang walks back to the mansion. She asks to find her a husband according to such standards. She notes that there is no need for this because she has already found it. She adds with a grin that Liang has already thought about everything herself and knows the answer, namely, the girl is in love with Won. The girl enters the mansion and looks at the guards in bewilderment. Liang begins to scold the guards, calling them decoration and not full-fledged security. The girl was unhappy that the guy was allowed in. At this moment, Aunt Liang comes out of the room and asks the girl not to be angry, because she was the one who let the gentleman in. The aunt takes Liang by the waist and leads him into the living room. She was interested in whether the guy was her betrothed. Liang denies this. The woman asks Liang not to be shy and tell all the details. Liang continues to deny that Won is her boyfriend. The woman invites you to sit at the table. Aunt Lianya adds that she doesn't plan to interfere. The girl was outraged that her aunt prepared breakfast for the guy. The woman explains that in addition to breakfast, she also prepared warm water for the guy on the second floor. Liang understands that her room is on the second floor and the guy will be there. The girl hurries to the second floor. She was outraged that the guy was taking a bath in her room. The woman assumes that Liang is in a hurry to see the guy. The girl runs into the room and immediately turns to Won. Won gestures that he needs to be quiet, because the boy was already asleep. Won puts the child on the bed and explains that the girl can wake him up. Liang was no less annoyed by the guy's presence. The girl began to roll up her sleeves, because the guy took a bath in her room and was now sitting on her bed. Liang wonders what he wants. Won asks a counter-question about what he really wants. Liang looks closely at the guy's reaction. She was worried about this question. Won approaches the girl and hugs her. The guy explains that he is only interested in her. Won hugs the girl. Liang looks at him confused. They add what smells like hairspray and he is ready to prepare much better wigs that will not spoil the scalp. The girl embarrassedly pushes the guy away and punches him in the stomach. Won asks the girl not to move because he really wants to hug her. At this moment the boy wakes up and calls his mother. Liang immediately pays attention to this. Won manages to let go of the girl in a moment and they stand apart. One high-desk boy after waking up, Liang thinks that the guy is a fake person. Won wonders if Khan remembers him reading him a story over the phone. Khan asks what fairy tale we are talking about. The boy remembers Won and takes his hand. He was delighted to meet. Won did not expect such a reaction. He began to feel slightly embarrassed. Won tries to hug the child, because the boy got it right. In a moment, Liang manages to pick up the child and explains that he is just her friend. The boy was slightly upset, repeating after his mother that this was just her friend. The boy adds that he remembers the story Won told. Won takes the child from Liang's arms. The girl tries to understand what Won is doing. Quan explains his actions by saying that the girl does not understand at all how to raise a child. Won leaves the room saying that he is going to have breakfast with the child and then invites Khan to play go-karts with him. The boy really liked Won. He was happy to sit on his shoulders. The girl did not know how to react to this and simply stood aside silently. Holding her head, the girl noticed that her son looked very much like Won. Liang slowly goes out into the corridor and sees how she and her aunt were perplexed by what they saw. The girl was also amazed at how Won played with her child. At this moment, Won was feeding the child while playing with him. The boy was very pleased with the presence of the guy. Liang could not allow this to happen. She explains that the boy should not be given food that he had previously bitten. But the boy manages to stuff a bun into Won's mouth, which makes him thank him. She manages to grab Liang's hand and immediately stops for something. She asks the girl to come to her senses. She explains that this is the first time that Kong is so happy and this is the first time that he eats so much. Aunt Liana also intervenes and asks when they will get married. The girl takes her forehead. I don't know what to answer to this. She was at a loss. She once again turns her head towards Won and watches him having fun. At the office, the company was working in full swing. The girl shouts to the entire office whether Juan is still in her house, which greatly shocked everyone present. Auntie explains that the guy is still sleeping in her bed. The girl grabs her head from what she heard. The girl was furious that Juan was sleeping on her bed. Auntie explains that he once again told the story to Can and they fell asleep together on her bed. Liang didn't understand how her son could betray her so quickly. At that moment, someone knocked on her office. Auntie notices something, will no longer bother the girl at work and will cook Juana something to eat. The girl asks to wait for her aunt, but she hangs up. The girl was outraged that this is the first time that Auntie hangs up. She blames Juan for what happened. See, laughing, you add, this could be true love. Liang accuses his brother, and I think that he is also on his side here. She noticed in his thoughts that if the girl had not fallen in love with this guy, he would have kicked him out long ago. C takes the girl by the hand and asks if she would like to see the guy on a blind date today. Liang understands that the guy arranged this date for her after all. She completely forgot about her request. C note that this was published a long time ago and is known in all major media. C also adds that all the guests are already starting to line up at the gate, which greatly worries the girl. Liang declares that Mr. Juana will not have to join and their relationship can be left for later. The girl arrives with her assistant at the Liang mansion. Liang quietly tries to sneak into his room so as not to wake up his son. Juan and Lian's son continued to sleep on her bed. Liang was outraged by such ignorance. She demanded that he explain how he would wake up. There was a creak at the door that woke up Juan. Can was awake at that moment and looked at Juan's face. The boy notices that in fact he is his father because he was able to anger his mother. Juan strokes the child's head and notes that the children's world is quite simple and innocent. The boy notices that it was Juan who was his father and that he had previously tried to explain this to him, but Liang stopped him. The boy adds that he wants to help his father because he wants to continue to see him. The boy with a smile declares that he does not want to live without his father. He doesn't understand what we're talking about. At that moment, another creaking sound came from the shower room. Juan notices the door opening. The boy also does this. Haired girl in a white dress comes out of the bathroom. Juan was very embarrassed by the girl's appearance. He called her the most expensive. Seeing Juan waking up, she became very angry at him. Not wanting to continue listening to Juan, the girl immediately leaves the room. Juan wonders where the girl is going to go in such a beautiful dress. The girl does not understand what we are talking about and what Juan is trying to find out. At this moment, the girl stumbles and begins to fly down the stairs. The girl starts to fall in fear. Juan can't keep up with her but is still trying to catch up. C, who is nearby, manages to catch the girl and takes her in his arms. He was very frightened and watched what was happening from above. She calls the girl his sister and asks not to cause such panic. After all, the meeting can simply be cancelled. He gives a thumbs up and calls she his friend. The girl adds with a smile that this is not a blind date, but she is going to a charity evening. The girl tries to deny it and explains that she must help the poor in the mountains and build schools and other things for them. Huang and she, knowing that the girl is lying, continue to look at her. Folding her hands, Liang adds that she is present at this event with her sister's personality and she can't just end the event if she doesn't want to. The girl begins to run in her dress and takes Shi's hand, because less than the entire company is at stake. Juan doesn't have time to say anything before the girl gets into her car and drives away. Juan was angry that the girl decided to go on a blind date. Holding his head, Juan calls the girl cruel. At this moment the boy goes outside and notices that in fact everything is so. Juan strokes the child's head and asks him to forgive him. After all, he should not have scolded his mother. The boy notices that his mother says such words even in front of him and she absolutely does not have enough time to even eat with him. The boy notes that Juan needs to continue to hold on to his dream. The boy explains that the girl already has 2 men and she cannot be allowed to go ruin the lives of other men. Juana can be heard kissing the boy on the forehead. Juan explains that he is ready to do this right now. Auntie watches all this and notices that the guy is perfect for Liang. The entire company hall was packed with guests. The presenter announced that they had just received a message, namely, the lady who brought everyone together in this room has already arrived. The presenters ask everyone present to greet Miss E with warm applause. 2 wards solemnly open the door behind which the girl was. The host greets Miss, the whole hall applauds her loudly. People in the hall noticed how beautiful the girl was. The girl walked into the hall with a smile, the audience could not take their eyes off her beauty. Some of the visitors assumed that Mrs. Dance would be auctioned at the banquet, and that the money from the auction would be donated to charity. She greeted his sister and handed her a glass of wine. The girl thanked her brother with a smile. Everyone was shocked by Miss Ye's voice and appearance. The girl came on stage and greeted everyone in the hall. She introduced herself as the president's cousin. After the greeting, the girl drinks a glass of wine in one gulp. All those under swords that the girl was as beautiful as the president himself were all ready to drink to her health. The girl's eyes became blurred from the glass of wine. The girl asks her brother why he must have so much strong wine. The host thanks the girl for her presence and puts the first dance with the girl up for auction. The man announces that the starting price is 2 million and each subsequent bid should be 200,000 higher. The man explains that all proceeds from this auction will go to charity. All the people in the hall were amazed at the beauty and decency of the girl. The man announces that the auction is open and the starting bid is 2 million. People immediately began throwing out higher numbers, outbidding each other. The bets reached 5 million. One of the men really wanted to dance with Miss E. At this moment, an unknown man opens the door with his foot. The door swings open and a man enters the hall, accompanied by several more guards. The unknown person immediately offers 20 million to buy Mrs. First Dance. The man states that he would also like to have lunch with the girl tomorrow in addition to the dance. Liang could not understand why one arrived at the hall and was trying to buy a dance. At this moment, an unknown man offers 23 million. The man was already heading towards the girl and wanted to dance with her first. One did not want to share the first dance with the man and takes him by the collar, which made the man perplexed. The man saw that it was Master Huang, which made sweat appear on his forehead. One declares that he is ready for up to 30 million for one dance. The presenter decides to ask again who is ready to give more than 30 million to Master Huang. All the people in the room were confused by such large amounts. Juan looked at the girl with a smile and was looking forward to the dance. Juan gets down on his knee and asks the girl to dance with him first. Liang was dedicated to such politeness. Unknown Hall shouts out that he is ready to give 40 million for a dance with a girl. Juan turns around to see who entered the hall and bet such a large amount. The master's back was Qin Ji. With an ear, the man calls the girl an old friend and declares that he could not miss her charity. The crowd turns and looks at the respected man. She, frightened, declares that he did not send him this information. The girl was very unhappy with the guy's presence. Juan also notices that the girl was unhappy. Juan was interested in who this man was and why he was causing such a reaction in the girl. Juan assumes that this is Can's father. Juan immediately raises the bar to 50 million. Without any hesitation, the man interrupts him with 60 million. Juan decides to raise it again, but the girl manages to stop his hand. Liang asks to stop and let this guy win. Juan was interested in why the girl wanted to dance with him. Juan says 70 million, and declares that no matter what price the guy sets, he is ready to outbid him. The man looks down with a grin. He asks the girl if she wants the guy to interrupt him. Qin states that he can give absolutely anything to the girl. The crowd was perplexed as to why some unknown man was trying to interrupt Master Huang, despite the fact that the guy looked very rich. The man conducting the auction was puzzled because he understood that both guys were impressive. He shouldn't offend anyone. The man invites the girl to choose with whom she should dance the first dance. The girl looks away and doesn't know how to respond to this. The girl tries to deny it and states that she drank too much and is dizzy. Both men did not believe Liang and asked her to stop pretending. The girl was outraged and didn't even know what to answer to this. Liang was at a loss. She didn't understand why other girls get everything so easily. She always has problems. The girl suggests that the guy make an even bigger bet and she dance with him, and go to lunch with Juan tomorrow. Juan was puzzled and did not want to give up his seat to the unknown guy. Qin decides to name the amount 100 million. Juan not wanting to lose, the amount is called 200 million. The girl in heels reaches for Juan's face. Liang tries to close the guy's lips so that he stops making rash bets. The girl demands that the guy stop embarrassing her. Juan was no less embarrassed. Juan assumes that this all happened precisely because of this guy. The girl does not understand what we are talking about and what Juan is talking about. Liang declares that she doesn't care what Juan thinks about and demands that he let her dance. Liang approaches Juan's face and whispers that she will be with him in the evening. Juan becomes even more embarrassed. Liang approaches Juan's face and whispers that she will be with him in the evening. Juan becomes even more embarrassed. Juan immediately agrees and confronts the guy. Qin thinks it's enough with a grin. It's interesting that after Liang's words, he simply retreated. The man extends his hand and checks the gesture of respect for the girl. A girl passes by and asks the guy to hurry up. Everyone is tired of waiting. The guy slowly takes the girl and starts dancing. The audience notices that they are a very worthy couple and look confident in the dance. A man watching this notices that they dance very beautifully, but their relationship is quite complex. Juan breaks the glass out of anger. He couldn't see it. Juan tries to calm himself down and consider that this is a farewell dance for him. Qin notes that he couldn't even think that there was a guy who would care about her so much. The girl is interested in why the guy came to her, because she does not see any need for their meetings. The man grabs the girl tightly by the waist. The man bends his head over the girl and is not interested in why she is so cruel and can say such things to him. The girl declares that in fact she is too kind to him and that is the only reason he is alive. The dance ends and the girl steps aside. The girl slowly continues to move away from the guy and declares that 100 million is nothing to him and this can save him from going to hell after death. Qin notes that since he is a bad person, what about Juan? Qin points his finger at Juan, wondering why he is talking to another girl. Liang notices how Juan communicates with a white-haired girl. Liang knew this girl and calls her by name. People in the hall also noted that this girl, who was 100 years old. The girl was also wary of Lu's presence at this event. Juan did not want to continue communicating with this girl, because in the past she tried to deceive him. He explains that nothing can happen between them because she is spreading gossip between them. Juan slowly gets out of his chair and tries to leave the girl's company. As Juan passes by, he adds that this won't work on him. The girl does not want to let Juan go, takes him by the neck and agrees with him because she considers him good. Juan doesn't understand why the girl is doing this. Lu looked at Liang with mockery. Liang silently watched as the girl hugged Juan's neck. Liang still decides to come up and add that a slutty girl laid her head on his shoulder and now his tuxedo is ruined. Lu, angry, asks why she called her that. Liang adds that it was Hao who called her that. Lu did not believe these words and said that she had known Juan for many years because he could not say such a thing. Liang adds with a grin, the man most likely doesn't say that to a lady. Therefore, she was ready to teach the girl a lesson herself, taking Lu by the hand. The girl throws Lu out of a bend, noting that this is exactly what happens to such people. Lu is lying on the floor, which made Juan perplexed. Liang emphasizes that he thought he was now much more worried about national security in the ranks of which there is such a weak fighter. Lu, trying to get up, accused the girl of assault. Lu asks his sister to call security that your mother is a crazy woman who attacked her. Juan decides to give the girl his hand and help her get up. Juan adds that he saw the whole incident and as a member of the knightly order, she could not win a fair fight, so the girl should be ashamed to ask for help. Juan demands that the girl come back, write something about the incident, and then send this manual to strengthen her training. At this moment, Sister Lu tries to come over and help the girl. Liang notices that this is the same Sister Qian. The girl is standing opposite Sister Lu. Liang adds that she heard from her brother Yi, Wu is a sweet girl, but she didn't know at all that she had a difficult sister. Qian decides to bow out to the girl and apologize for her sister. Lu gets up on her feet and shouts at her sister, asking for some reason and apologizing. After all, she is her sister. Qian doesn't know how to respond to this, because Sister Yi is Master Liang's cousin. Not wanting to continue listening to his sister's insults, Qian pushes her to the floor. Qian adds that Master Liang called her cute and that she should think about her behavior. One tries to explain what Lu, not entirely cultured, meant. Liang supports the guy. Lu was depressed and began to shake with fear. In tears, she runs out of the hall, surrounded by a perplexed crowd. Qin had already prepared the check at this point and presented it to the auctioneer. The man decides to look and into the microphone they call out the exact amount written on the check. The man confirms that the check says 100 million, everyone present begins to applaud Qin's honesty. Qin bows to the audience, everyone noticed his beauty and politeness at this event. Qin could not accept defeat and continued to look at the girl. Juan notices this and decides not to retreat. Immediately hugs Yu and shows that nothing will happen to him. Juan explains this by saying that the guy may get praise, but the girl will be his. Juan heads out with Liang. The girl, accompanied by Juan, walks across the bridge and sits down in an empty seat. Juan grabs the girl's face, sorry about today's incident. Juan adds that he can no longer hold back and decides to kiss the girl. The girl does not resist at all and allows herself to be kissed. Juan notices that he finally has at least the slightest chance of getting into her heart. Liang mockingly wonders why the guy thinks that she will accept him so easily. The girl takes Juan by the tie. Liang is not interested in why the guy knows about all her secrets but still loves her. Without coming up with anything more original, he simply says that the girl is beautiful. Liana was embarrassed by this and could not immediately answer this. The girl states that the guy couldn't know how beautiful she was because she wore men's clothes and had a short haircut. Juan adds that this is exactly what he likes. Juan takes the girl by the cheeks and explains that he likes a loud and cunning girl. Juan continues to praise the girl and describe everything he likes about her. The girl became very embarrassed after these words. Blushing Liang believes that Huang is too dangerous for ordinary girls. Juan throws his coat over the departing Liang. Saying that it's cold at night, he offers to take the girl home. The girl agrees and they walk together to the car. Juan smiles and says that the girls shouldn't worry about it. Juan arrives at the Liang mansion and stops right in front of the entrance. Juan, like a real gentleman, gets out of the car and opens the girl's door. Juan announces that they have already arrived home, for which Liang thanks, because the guy took her home. While Juan is distracted, the girl throws her coat at him and runs away. Juan was very angry at such actions from the girl. Juan tries to grab the hand of the running girl. He reminds him that the girl promised him to stay with him tonight. The guy recalls the agreement with which it was stated that if the girl dances, then tonight they will be together. The girl reminds her that her child is in the house and it will be inconvenient. The girl announces the formation in a commanding voice. The guy immediately falls into line. He turns to his girlfriend. Liang comes closer and stands in front of the plan. She announces that Juan has the opportunity to be Miss Ye's friend for tonight. The rest of the time it all depends on Juan, what will be their future relationship. Juan looks at the girl in love. Juan thanks the ace for the opportunity and he will live up to her expectations. Liang adds that friends should not be together at such a late time and Juan should still go home. Juan realizes that the girl has outwitted him again. Juan wonders if they are now friends, if he can invite Liang and Kan to visit him. The girl nods approvingly and sees that Kan is behind the door. The boy declares that Juan should not worry because he will personally bring his mother to visit tomorrow to play. At night, Juan returned to his home and simply went to bed. At some point, Juan's phone rang. Juan didn't understand who could be calling him so early in the morning. He barely reached the phone. Juan completely forgot about today's meeting. He was surprised that it started so early. In the phone book, Liang was listed as a wife. Juan greeted you girl. Liang blamed the guy for what happened. After all, it was he who said to come to them to play. After that, Kan only begged her to come. Liang added that they had already arrived and were located under his gate. Juan immediately gets out of bed and asks him to give him literally 5 minutes. Juan stops at some point and realizes that he forgot something. His room had not been cleaned for more than 10 days and the trash had not been taken out. Juan understood that he needed to clean up before meeting with Liang. He grabbed your head and noticed that 5 minutes would not be enough for him. At this time I parked near the knights' barracks. One of the knights approached the car. The man asked the girl if she was with the family of the knightly commander. Kant was interested in this and asked his mother what it meant. The man explains that this means close relatives for the head. Having a look confirms that it is they. The man immediately decides to explain the girl's rules and that they can't go inside by car, they will have to get to the building on horseback. A kind girl gets out of the car to explain that she can get there herself. Lien approaches the horse, which greatly surprises one of the knights. She confidently climbs onto the horse. Liang asks the man to help her bring her son. The knight immediately agrees, wondering how the girl knows how to ride a horse. The boy was intrigued because it was the first time he had seen such a large horse. The girl asks the lieutenant to take her and show her the way. The man must agree. The knights at the entrance were puzzled because the girl was much more beautiful even than Juan himself. At this moment, Juan was trying to finish cleaning. While on the street, he threw away the package. Juan is very tired because cleaning at such a speed greatly depletes his energy. At this moment, Liang on horseback slowly approaches Juan. Juan also notices a girl riding a horse. The boy immediately tries to greet Juan. The boy notices that he managed to bring his mother to visit Juan. The girl slowly drives up to Juan and greets him with a smile. Juan notices how beautiful the girl is without a wig. The girl looks at the guy confused. Adjusting her hair, she asks to save these words for other innocent girls. The boy jumps off Liang's lap and asks Juan to give him something to drink. The girl notices that Ken is falling, which is why she begins to get very nervous. Juan manages to catch the boy and holds him in his arms. Juan explains that his house is nearby and asks to be allowed to take Canada home. The boy asks to forgive his mother's behavior because she woke up at 5 o'clock this morning. The boy explains that the girl tried to dress him up and he became very strong from all this. The girl was very embarrassed and asked Can to stop telling everything. Juan begins to laugh loudly, which can be heard, and also thanks the boy for the information provided. Juan walks towards the house with the boy. The girl demands that Juan let Can go. The boy decided to look around the whole house and, having found a swing, he began to ride. While on the balcony, Juan asks the girl if she likes his house. The girl notices that it's pretty good here. Liang also noticed that there are quite a lot of birds here and the clean air is filled with a sweet aroma. Liang adds that she is surprised because the house is clean and whoever marries him will be very lucky. Juan comes closer and asks if the girl is hinting at something. The girl refuses in response. Juan notices that the girl is hungry because her stomach is starting to growl. The boy notices this also and wonders if his mother is hungry. Folding his hands, he notices that the girl was in too much of a hurry and was preoccupied with Juan, so she forgot to have breakfast. The girl comes closer to her son and asks not to tell all the secrets. Juan was greatly amused by this and started laughing. Juan puts his hand on Liang's head. The girl was weighed because she did not allow Juan to put his hand on her head. Juan manages to enter the room and close the door behind him. He also adds that he can cook something and asks the girl to refrain from hitting. The girl asks if Juan can cook. He was puzzled by such a question. He did not know what to answer her. He grabs his head and notices that his life is quite complicated. Juan declares with a grin that in the future he will be the one who cooks. Juan begins to prepare food for the whole family. Liang silently watches his son as the guy cooks. The girl and her son were very hungry and could not resist. At the moment when Juan turned, the girl immediately turned around without giving a sign. This made Juan laugh a lot. I want him to laugh back. A moment later, Juan declares that he has already prepared it and that he should approach. The boy happily ran to the kitchen. The girl does a favor and declares that she will taste his dish. The girl was shocked to see what exactly Juan had prepared. On the table lay various dishes prepared as in a restaurant. The boy was also shocked at how delicious the food was. The girl asks the boy not to rush to eat slowly. He comes closer and puts his hand on his shoulder, wondering if the boy liked the food. The boy was delighted because the food was really tasty. He emphasized that this was the most delicious food he had eaten in his life. Juan offers to feed the boy, to which the girl watched silently. Liang also decided to try a piece of Huang's food. The girl broke off a small piece and put it in her mouth. Liang was shocked by such a wonderful taste. She admired the food no less than her son. After a while, they went outside and went for a walk on the south side of the road from the Chiao estate. The girl was interested in where the guy was trying to take them. Huang states that he is trying to take them to his secret base, which makes Liang's son delighted. After walking a few meters, Juan declares that they have arrived. The girl decides to pick up Can and carry him in her arms. Liang became curious about what kind of secret base the guy was talking about and what he was hiding. The girl looks in the distance and observes an ordinary market. The girl wonders if the farmer's market is the same place Juan was talking about. Juan asks not to pronounce his name in this place. After all, no one suspects who he really is. Juan explains that he comes to the market to buy food when he wants to cook something and it is in this place that he can behave like a normal person. The girl decides to find out if the guy knows how to bargain. He explains that trading is the very reason why he comes here because it relieves stress and negative emotions. The boy comes closer to Juan and asks him to buy broccoli for him. Juan, not wanting to refuse the boy, offers to go with him and buy broccoli. Juan approaches one of the merchants and asks how much he wants for the broccoli. The man names the price at 40 yuan. Juan carefully examines the broccoli and thinks about what price he should name next. Juan calls the price 30 yuan, adding that this is his last offer. The man explains that under no circumstances will he sell for such a low amount, because 38 yuan is the cost. The boy also states that it is too expensive for regular broccoli. Juan also adds that yesterday he bought this product for 30 yuan, inviting the boy to go with him and find that same stall. As he leaves, the man agrees to sell the broccoli for 30 yuan. He asks the boy how much broccoli he needs. The boy explains that he needs exactly 3 pieces. Juan explains to the merchant that he wants to buy 3 broccoli. The man agrees to this proposal. Liang, standing on the sidelines, cannot believe that yesterday Juan was in a tuxedo and wanted to spend 200 million on her, and today he is bargaining with a farmer to save on broccoli. Liang doesn't quite understand why, but she finds this situation touching. The man adds that one must be very happy with such a young boy. It shocked me greatly. The girl decides to come up and add her word. But at this moment the boy interrupts the girl and explains that he has good taste. Liang assumes that the boy has already mistaken Juan for his father. Liang noticed that Huang was quite kind in the family, but she did not understand whether his family would accept them. At this moment, Juan comes closer and takes the girl by the hand. The girl was embarrassed by this action from Juan. Juan stated with a smile that the baby's orders had already been completed and they had bought everything they needed. He asked if it was necessary to purchase something for Liang. This brought tears to the girl's eyes. The boy said that his mother liked sweet and sour pork ribs and fried eggplant. Looking at Juan, the boy also added that his mother does not like spicy food at all. Juan recalled with a grin how Liang mocked him, and now he finds out that she doesn't like spicy food at all. Liang was a little lost in her face and tried to move away because it was getting quite crowded around them. Juan puts his hand on the girl's shoulder. Juan hugged Liang and noted that they were a very beautiful couple. They hugged each other and did not walk together towards the house. Juan embarrassedly reminded that the girl did not have enough time to take care of her own child, and so he decided to propose an idea. Juan wanted to cook dinner for Kong with Liang. The couple and Kong returned home. The boy wonders if his mother has finished preparing the food. Liang asks the boy to wait, because everything will be ready soon. Juan tried to console the child because he was already hungry. The boy wonders why Juan isn't cooking now. Juan simply laughs in response to this question. Half an hour ago, the girl was choosing the dishes in which to cook. She was wondering what the secret of Juan's cooking success was. Liang asked Kong to go play while she and Juan prepared dinner for him. Juan decides to roll up his sleeves to help the girl, but she immediately stops him. The girl wanted to cook everything herself for her son. Liang throws an apron over her shoulders and does not raise a finger. She was sure that she could cook no worse than. Juan comes closer and helps Liang put on her apron. Juan offers to bring a temporary snack for the child. Kana agrees. Juan takes out a bag of chips and hands it to the child. The boy was delighted with such a bright pack of chips. I don't know how to open a packet of chips. The boy tries to open it with his teeth, and he takes the pack in his hands and helps the boy open it. The boy was delighted with how many chips there were inside. Juan gets up and decides to help Liang with the cooking. He noticed that he didn't know what Liang might have gone through and what situation she found herself in. Juan slowly approaches the girl with a desire to help her with cooking. Juan assumes that she has suffered all these years, so he decides to hug her. This confuses the girl greatly. She wonders if Liang is trying to wash the vegetables that they bought today. The girl throws all the broccoli into the water without understanding exactly how to cook them. Juan sighs languidly. The girl does not understand what exactly she is doing wrong. The guy explains that if you wash them this way, only the stems will get it. Juan adds that broccoli is very fragile and should be cut into pieces first. Next, Juan demonstrates exactly how to soak broccoli in salt water. Liang wipes a drop of water on Juan's face. Juan blushed because the girl had rules of caring towards him. At this moment, the girl's phone rings, interrupting their romantic dinner. The girl wonders who is calling her at such a late hour. Chin reminds him that he spent 100 million to dance with the girl and spend the evening, but in the end the girl makes him wait and didn't even send a message. A man reminds a man that if he is not happy, I add with a grin that he could do something terrible. The girl silently listens to Chin and his indignation. Moving away from Juan, she asks to forgive the guy and explain that she is not able to have lunch with him today. Chin was very angry at this statement. The guy reminds that he can talk to her grandfather and he will be very angry at what he hears. The guy reminds her that her grandfather is 90 years old and it will be painful for him to hear such a secret. In an ominous voice, he asks whether her grandfather will choke on blood from what he heard. Juan can't bear to watch his girlfriend suffer and takes the phone from Liang's hands. Huang explains that the girl is at his house and he is also inviting Chin, and he should also try to convey similar information to her grandfather. Juan also hints at further consequences if everyone finds out about this. Chin gets up from the table. He was outraged by his Juana next to Liang. The man hits the table and declares that even though he has known Lian for several days, he is fighting for her heart. Qin adds that the guy has no right to fight for her heart in this way. Kan's voice is heard on the phone and he is asking for more potato chips. This shocked Qin greatly. Qin demands that he dictate the address so that he can come and meet him. Qin plans to come to him at 12 o'clock noon and talk to them. Qin clutches thunderstorms in his hands, which makes him bleed, and asks him to prepare more home-cooked food for him. Put it in the phone instead of continuing to cook as if nothing had happened. Liang looks at Wan's reaction. Wan continues chopping vegetables for cooking. He couldn't. He decides to ask whether this person is biological. The girl looks at the guy in bewilderment and doesn't quite understand what he's talking about. Huang adds that he suggests that Qin is Kan's biological father. Liang strokes the guy on the head and understands why the guy was so jealous. Wan refuses and shakes his head. The boy declares that Wana is his real father and he found him. The girl silently looks at her son and understands that he understands everything. He emphasizes how intelligent the boy is. The boy smiles back and looks at Liang and Wan as if they were parents. Qin was supposed to arrive around 12 o'clock. The boy wonders if Wan is nervous when he meets him. Wan pretends that he is not at all worried about this. Huang explains to the boy that Qin grew up with Liang and helped and sacrificed a lot for her. The boy touches Wan's face and asks him to be more confident. The boy states that although Qin wants to be his dad, he will not allow this to happen. Qin slowly approaches the mansion and observes Huang and the child sitting. Qin was worried about whether Huang was the one destined for her. As I approach the mansion, the man decides to also light a cigarette. The man doesn't understand what the girl found so good in him. Liang slowly approaches from behind and asks the guy to throw away the cigarette. Qin twitches slightly in fear. Liang adds that Kan does not like this smell, but that the guy immediately explains that he will quit smoking. The man reaches out to the girl's hand to take her hand. The man wonders if she knows that Wan is the eldest son of the king of the family and she and her son can be involved in all conflicts. Liang pulls his hand away and asks me to make similar comparisons. The girl comes closer and looks up at the guy. Liang, she explains that if he can be her son to the end, then she is ready to sacrifice herself. In his thoughts, Qin was outraged, because the guy was not the one Liang imagined. Qin is adjusting her bow tie and thought of telling this about Huang's second personality. Qin understood that if he told this, he would destroy the illusion of look around Huang. Qin adds that he will stay for a few more days in this house and leave as soon as he feels unnecessary. At this moment, the boy runs up to his mother and Qin notices this. The boy explains that Huang is worried about her and that she is in such a place next to Qin. At this moment, he also decides to come closer and say hello to Qin. Wan smiles at the guy without any words of greeting. Qin called Huang narrow-minded. You noticed something, most likely worried that he might steal Liang. Huang breaks the awkward pause and still greets Mr. Qin. Qin was confused as to why the guy changed so dramatically. Qin Yu also does not apologize for disturbing their meeting and coming for a surprise visit. Liang, standing to the side, notes that the guys behave like children. Wan notices that Liang is leaving quickly and tries to understand why she is doing this. Liang explains this by saying that she sold it and wants to go home to eat. Wan notices that the girl called his house her home. He smiled imperceptibly after the girl. To annoy Qin, he loudly declares that they should all go home together. Qin puts his hand on Wana's shoulder and wonders if Jerry is his English name. Qin notices that a person with the same name is manipulating the entertainment industry and has the exact same name. Qin Yu does not call him a person and clarifies whether he is a simple prostitute. Huang does not understand what we are talking about and what kind of thoughts are in Qin's head. Wan and Liang set the table and invite all the guests. Qin couldn't believe that Huang could cook so deliciously, it annoyed him. Qin adds that the guy is a good cook, but in their country a man should stay away from the kitchen. Wan is not interested in this, he tries to put food on little Kan. Huang adds that if he could cook for Liang all his life, he wouldn't mind not being a gentleman at all. Qin didn't know how else to annoy Huang, he was confused. Qin wonders if Huang will only cook, then he will be the breadwinner in this family. Huang continues to eat his noodles carefree, which makes Qin very angry. Huang states that Liang is very good at supporting the entire family by herself. Kana confirms this. This shocks Qina because he expected a completely different answer. Qin continues to stick to his line and explains that a man in their country should always work and a woman should take care of the family. Huang wonders why Qin's knowledge about her country is so outdated. After all, the dynasty has been gone for many years. One wonders if the guy just recently got out of the cemetery. The boy teases the man that he came out not from the cemetery, but from the mud. The boy notices that he wanted to watch a cartoon, but Qin brought them a large number of films. 11 Qin, after which he is still afraid to watch something like this. Qin embarrassedly declares that he works too much and does not know what kind of cartoon the boy asked for. The boy declares that the guy is too old-fashioned and cannot keep up with the times. This made Liang laugh a lot, as did Wan. Liang assumes that they are already over and decides to go and wash the dishes. Qin is not interested since when did the girl become a virtuous wife? Liang, angry, is interested in breeding to do this, to which Qin apologizes and copes with his words. Huang puts his hand on Liang's waist and explains that the girl's hands are only meant to sign expensive contracts and asks to let him wash the dishes. Qin notices that Huang's hands signed many more papers for huge sums, but only the girl does not know about it. Qin notes with a smile that since Huang is a worthy girl and is preparing to stand up for her, then he should not fight and worry about her well-being. The man comes from the table with a statement that he finally understands why he cannot compete with him. Lian is interested in what exactly the guy understood. Qin adds that he does not have such eloquence and is not able to because he wins the hearts of girls. Qin thanks for the hospitality and explains that he has a serious matter, so he should go. Qin heads towards the exit, which Liang notices. The girl offers to accompany him to the exit. Wan hugs the girl and asks her not to bother her because he will do everything himself. The girl stands silently aside and watches what is happening. The girl is worried about what she can say to Qin Huang one-on-one. The girl still asks not to worry about Wana and let her see her old acquaintance. Huang could not believe that the girl wanted to be left alone with Qin, simultaneously calling him her brother. Qin notices that the girl is quite heartless, because for some reason the girl is worried that he will hurt Huang. Qin adds that he was with her all these years, but she was very biased towards him. The guy lets the girl go and notices that she chose the one with whom she spent several days. At this moment, Wan appears from behind and takes the girl by the hand. Then the guy grabs the waist from the back and asks the girl not to worry about his protection. He adds that he will not be afraid even if he is forced into a love war. Wan adds that the girl also hurts his feelings with such actions. Liang notices that Wan can't wait for her to hurt him. Wan agrees with his girlfriend through laughter. Qin demands that the guy not be so pleased, because in fact he is Liang's brother, albeit uneven relatives. Qin, turning away, explains that her family picked him up. Looking at the ground, the guy adds that this was done to share the Yi family's fortune. Qin tell me that the girl's mother was abandoned by her father and she went to the Qin estate while already pregnant with Liang. The girl's father was outraged by the return of that girl. He noticed that the girl had the courage to return home after she left everyone. Everyone in the area was discussing the return of the girl and no one could believe it. The girls held back their emotions and clenched their fists. The girl stated that it was her fault and she met the wrong man because of whom she betrayed her family. The girl asked to stay because she has a child who can't do anything bad. The girl knelt down and asked her father to forgive him and give him the opportunity to raise the Qin family in good health and embrace. The man silently looked at the girl with a serious face. The man decides to forgive the girl and give up the opportunity and stay, but on one condition. The man explains that he will help the girl raise only her child. Qin adds that on the day Liang's mother gave birth, he was very curious. The guy decided to go into the room and look at the child. The boy found out about Liang 4 years later, really a boy. Qin also noted that Liang's certificate said that he was a man, but only he knew the real truth. Liang was subjected to serious training by her grandfather. Qin always felt sorry for the child and he understood that the girl was being raised by force as a man. On one of these days, Qin decided to come up and treat the girl to a drink. The girl kindly accepted his gift. She was glad to see her face was badly beaten. She put the can of drink to her face. Qin was very embarrassed, because he liked her very much. The man put his hand on Qin's shoulder, demanding that he not play with this child. The man knew that this boy could be the enemy and the target or the main rival. The man shouted at Qin, saying that he had tried very hard to get custody of him and did not want to lose his entire fortune because of such a moment. Qin explained that after the death of his grandfather, he managed to inherit his entire fortune using all possible tricks, but after that the guy immediately transferred the entire inherited fortune to Liang. He was greatly shocked by such a story. He did not know such subtleties of the Yi family. It becomes clear to Juan that he really sacrificed a lot for the girl. The man folds his hands and explains that if a guy is truly faithful to a girl, then he should continue in the same spirit. Huang said with a serious face that he would not betray Qin. You don't turn around and say goodbye to the couple. Huang silently follows Qin with his eyes. He did not expect that there could be such a deep story. At that moment, the phone rang in my pocket. The girl immediately picks up the phone and asks why they are calling her. Upon hearing this, Liang immediately asks to detain people for a few minutes. She will rush to the office as soon as she finishes with Kano. The girl immediately runs towards the house, because this was a serious matter for her. Juan grabs the girl's hand and asks what happened and why she's in such a hurry. Liang explains that the famous actress was injured and now blames the company for what happened. She called her and explained that the woman was demanding compensation for damages. Juan takes the girl by the hand, trying to say something. The guy explains, yes, I shouldn't worry so much, after all, it's only 30 million. The girl explains that it's not about the money at all. The girl explains that it's not about the money, it's about the reputation of her company. Juan listened carefully to the girl's argument. Patting Liang on the head, he confirms that she is right. Juan heads to his house and asks the girl to wait 10 minutes before he does everything. The girl doesn't quite understand what we're talking about and what Juan is going to do about this situation. The clan goes down to the second floor and declares that they managed to communicate and solve everything. At this moment, Liang and his son are sitting on the sofa in the living room. Juan smiles sweetly looking at Liang. Coming closer, he asks the girl to take her son and go upstairs and lie down on the bed. Juan adds that everything can wait, they should continue to climb up. Holding Kano in his arms, the guy goes upstairs with a smile. Liang believes that she feels much warmer when Juan smiles. It seems to the girl that even if the whole world freezes, she will be much warmer next to Juan. Entering the man's room, Liang begins to realize something. She realizes that she is in Juan's room and this was all an excuse to lure her. The girl immediately heads for the exit. Juan, having laid Kana down, tries to catch up with the girl. Having closed the doors behind the girl, he does not allow her to go outside. Juan adds that the girl is very worried only because she has already been able to find a reliable man with whom she is ready to spend the rest of her life. At this moment, Liang's mobile phone receives another call. She asks whether they were able to solve the problem in the office. She asks Mr. Liang to calm down because everything has already been decided. She explained that the celebrity's assistant called and settled everything. They will continue to cooperate with their company without any compensation. The girl understands that everything went smoothly and without her intervention. She hangs up. Juan notices that there was nothing serious in this situation and she was too nervous about such a trifle. Juan puts his hand on the girl's waist. Juan, with a smile, proposes that we now discuss their family affairs and how they will share responsibilities. Liang doesn't quite understand what family matters the guy is talking about. Juan invites the girl to meet his parents in 5 days. Liang was greatly shocked. She did not understand why they needed to meet with his parents. Liang explains this by saying that their relationship is developing too quickly than she thought. Juan takes the girl by the hand and explains that she shouldn't be so nervous. Juan adds that she just needs to be herself and do nothing on this day. Liang asks me to refrain and stop putting pressure on me. She explains that they are not yet ready to meet with Juan's parents in such a short period of time. The girl does not understand why Juan became so disappointed. Juan adds that she may not agree with her parents, but as compensation she could blame him. The girl is silently embarrassed by such a proposal, but not wanting to resist, she still hugs the guy, because it seems to her that he is not able to bite her. Juan laughs evilly behind the girl. Juan bites the girl's shoulder and screams for something. Juan starts laughing at what happened. Juan asks the girl to remember this feeling and from now on hug him as tightly as she does now. The girl blushed deeply from such closeness. She had no words. The girl lets go of Juan and pushes him towards the house. Juan looks at the girl with a smile. One thing to notice is that girls when they play the role of Liang is an evil CEO who will do anything for the sake of his career, but he is very different from the girl he knows. Kissing the forehead, he calls the girl charming and cowardly. The girl was amazed at such closeness with Juan. The girl assumes that the guy planted a rabbit in her heart. Juan doesn't quite understand what the girl is saying. Juan starts laughing loudly, and in a loud voice he calls the girl stupid. The guy suggests they talk about meeting his parents later and move on to talking about Kano. The guy offers to solve the problem with the boy's studies. The man suggests not sending the boy to summer school where there are a large number of reporters. The girl asks if he plans to send the child to the platoon kindergarten. The guy nods approvingly and looks at Liang's reaction. The girl wonders if this will be too troublesome for the guy, because Wan's family could become a laughing stock because of a woman who has an illegitimate son. Wan immediately proposes marriage. The girl immediately stops him. After all, it was just an example. Wana says that he is not joking and really wants to marry the girl. The guy explains that he will immediately prove it and will continue to support the sky above the girl's head. The guy asks Liang to hold his hand tightly and not let him go. The guy looks at the reaction and what she does next. The girl extends her hand to the guy. Liang agrees with Huang and allows him to leave Kan's studies to the guy's discretion. At this moment, Liang's phone rang again. One of Liang's workers claims to have found Yi Bingwen.